To move away from using Prism's Delegate command here, we have this command base. We are going to inherit from the observable object, and we're going to implement the ICommand interface. The reason that I'm going to inherit from this observable object, which is here, all it does is implement INotify property changed. That way we can update is working. So I've added this bool is working so that we can bind to various different things in the UI. Then down here, in order to implement this ICommand interface, we need an event handler can execute changed. For this, we're going to hook into the command manager requery suggested event. This comes directly from David Anderson's video, which I would highly recommend. So then we just have the can execute and execute methods, which are both abstract, which then requires the class to be abstract. The reason that these are abstract is just so that whichever commands derive from this command base will need to implement those. The command that we're replacing is a delegate command from Prism. The name of it is just change structure color. That's what the button does. So to replace that, we've created this new change structure color command. And in order to gain access to the various different properties and everything, we're going to pull in the structure details view model and the random. We're just going to pass those along in the constructor. And then in the can execute method, we're going to check to see if the is working is true, or if the selected structure is not selected. In other words, it's null, and the random is null. So if any of those things are true, then we're not going to allow the button to be executed or the command to be executed. For the execute method, we're going to use a wait cursor, which is just a simple class over here in the MVVM base project that will override the mouse cursor to the wait cursor. And then once it's disposed, it will reset it to the original cursor. That's just a way that we can provide feedback to the user that something is working, that the UI is not just frozen. If there's no feedback provided to the user, they can be confused, and especially if it's a long-running process, they can be concerned that it's frozen. To avoid that, we're just going to provide some feedback there. To start, we're going to set is working to true. Do another check here. This is pretty redundant. This was just an example. If you'd rather do your validation, you can do it here as opposed to doing it in here. We're going to make sure the selected structure is not null and that the random is not null, because those two things are what is necessary for this. Assuming that that is valid, we are going to simulate a long-running process for 4 seconds, and then we're just going to change the color. And then if the state is not valid, we're going to update the view model's error messages, which I've added. We're just going to say, please ensure the structure is selected. Over here in the details view, we've just added this little section down below the button that provides some error messages. And you'll also see here this command base async and this ICommand async. But for the meantime, we're just going to use a standard command over in the details view model. We're using this delegate command. We're going to replace that with this change structure color command. We're just going to add this here and comment this out. Then we're going to redefine this here. We'll just comment this. Change structure color command will be a new change structure color command, and this will take in the view model. So this. And we will take in the random, which we have above. And just so you can see, we have the backing field for the error messages section. And then we have just a public field for the error messages that is updated. So we'll just try it again. And you can see that we now have a wait cursor because it's now taking 4 seconds. If we want to, we can just get rid of this and we will put a breakpoint just so we can show that it's this command. And so we'll just change this. We hit our breakpoint and then it changes immediately. So we've removed the breakpoint and now we can see that it changes. So if we remove that wait cursor and we now add back in that 4-second wait time, then let's say you're trying to calculate something that just takes like 4 seconds. This is what the user's experience would be. So you click it and you notice it's still the hand, or if it was the pointer, like I don't know what's going on and I actually can't, until that's finished, I can't move it around. That's the benefit of the wait cursor. It will provide some feedback to the user to say, hey, I'm not frozen. I'm still working. Just be patient. So now I can see, okay, it's working. Okay, now it's done. So anyway, that's just an example as to why you might want to use a wait cursor. The other thing would be that you could use like an async command that would then allow you to have a progress bar or update the view as you're making progress and that sort of thing. We'll probably have some examples of that later on. So to recap, we implemented the command base which implements ICommand. And we also inherit from the observable object, which allows us to use this onPropertyChanged to update this isWorking property in case we want to bind to it in any views. So we have this command base, then we created this change structure color command that has some logic to check whether or not the button can be used. And let's actually just give an example of that. So if we hit start, we shouldn't be able to use this right now. Once we remove this, we'll see that we would be able to click the button, even though there's nothing there, right? So, which we have this check, which is another reason that we would have this, and we're able to update that error. Now that goes away and everything works. That's another thing that you can do instead of having that. But if you want to be able to control whether or not that the button actually works, then you can take that ability away from the user until they select a structure. You could even have a message here that says, please select a structure. You could have checks to make sure that the form is valid. And until the form is valid, you could potentially show some error messages or prompts to let the user know what they need to do. Hopefully the user can figure out that they need to select things. But anyway, all right, to complete the recap, we have this command. We check to make sure that we can actually operate the command. And then as long as everything is in order, we will change the color, and we use this wait cursor so we can provide some user feedback. We have now removed the need for Prism altogether. You can actually go to the NuGet packages, and we'll just remove it altogether. So we'll uninstall it from this package. And I think this value tuple comes with Prism. So I think we could probably uninstall this as well. I'm pretty sure that's the dependency that's used by Prism. So let's just see. Let's just test it, make sure it still works. Oh, and now we have some build errors. We are trying to bring in things from Prism. It's not part of our project anymore. All right, so now it works, and we can still select our structure. We can still change the color, and we no longer have Prism as part of this project. So there you go. I hope that this video is helpful in the event that you don't want to use Prism or that you just can't. Hopefully in the future video, we'll go over some examples of async commands where you can update a progress bar or, something like that, just so that the UI doesn't freeze. But anyway, that will be it for this one. So hope you have a great day.